Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to... I've already lost count of episodes, and I've just started doing this podcast. You know what number this is. Podcast. CuriousJohn podcast. I'm going to guess number 3, maybe? Anyways, welcome. So this week, we're talking to my brother from another mother, Ralph, and his wife about childbirth. Everything really having to do with having kids. We kind of go on tangents. There's always background noise wherever I'm at. There's always a lot to talk about when it comes to having kids. There's a lot to unpack. And one of those things is definitely decisions on having kids and whether or not you want kids and what your experience was of having kids, because everybody's varies, right? So we get into that a little bit. We also talk about the birthing process itself. I get into the weeds about that. But anyways, wanted to give you a little bit of background on it, primarily because we just go into it. We were just having good conversation at the time, and I said, screw it. Let me get the podcast equipment out, and we'll just keep talking. And so we did. For those of you that like getting into the weeds and getting into the thick of things, Ralph is a buddy of mine I met a few years ago through... Funny enough, YouTube. Him and I were both doing kind of fitness-related stuff on YouTube, and we just became friends. We kept talking, and eventually he came down to visit. I went down to visit in his side of town. We're a few states away, or a state away or so, and so we just became really close friends. And in the process, you know, when we were definitely first kind of meeting up, I found out that his wife was pregnant, and she talks about that a little bit on the episode. So. Yeah, good people, man. Really good people. Extended family, pretty much. So we talk about a lot of stuff, childbirth, a lot of funny things, a lot of crazy things that you kind of hear about. Don't get offended with anybody's viewpoints. A lot of that is just for jokes. But overall, yeah, I want to give you guys a quick primer. There's another long one. I feel like the podcasts as a whole on this channel end up being longer form, which was kind of the original intent. The only problem with longer form is that some people really have to be committed to the topic, and maybe you're into kids or you're not into kids or you're not planning on having kids, so maybe this isn't the thing that you would typically search for. But there's some life tips in here. There's some interesting kind of concepts, and they have a really good relationship, so it's always good to take away what people are doing right in a relationship and the give and take and the dance involved in a relationship and what needs to be done in order to have a successful relationship. I've said it once, and I'll say it probably a million times before I die. Relationships are uber complex and probably one of the most difficult things you'll do. One could argue raising a child might be more difficult, but I would be willing to argue that one. But anyways, that's it, ladies and gents. I'll leave you guys here. I'm trying to cut these short. That way you have plenty of time to listen to this wherever you're listening to this, probably at work. Let's just be honest. So that's it. I posted any sort of relevant stuff down below, and I'll talk to you guys on the outro. Later. You're talking
like this going on. I should probably turn this off.
So you're talking shit about Javi? You just started
always talk shit about Javi. Who's Javi? Where's he at?
He's gonna be so pissed.
It's all good. No worries.
I got the longest cord here.
All right. Is he on his way over?
He's at the beach. And
Javi's
there's like
at the beach?
And there's like a wooden statue thing. Hold on. You guys have to see this. All right. It's I don't know. Here you go. Just look at it, and then I'll let you describe what that is.
Oh, that's
And
weird.
there's like a factory in the background.
What kind of weird place is he at? Is that cardboard?
I have no idea. I've never seen that.
Dude in the sand.
I've never seen it, but I'll send you the
Javi goes
picture
to the
so you
weirdest
can.
Places.
Javi likes that wood. All right. So
Hobby Snow likes the wood.
I hear you threw him under the bus.
Big time.
So I don't know what we're gonna talk about. So we we were talking about stuff earlier, and I was thinking how we should have just thrown all that in the podcast, like the parenting stuff and some of the stuff you guys have experienced, like the struggles of being parents. So I guess how do I start this podcast? I've already done the intro, but I know you guys. How long do I know you guys now?
Personally known each other, like we physically seen each other for the first
Just
time.
overall.
I want to say 2 years.
2.5 years,
Two
roughly.
and a half, I would say.
Really? I thought it was longer.
Maybe that's what she said.
I hope
You
she
know
didn't
what?
say that.
I think I'm measuring. Yeah, it's longer because I think I'm measuring it by Ruby's age.
Yeah.
And
Then
we
it's
first
probably a
met
little more
you
than 3.5
when I got
years.
pregnant, so 9 months plus her age.
Plus her age, yeah.
And
So
then
maybe 3.5 years.
You
or
guys
so.
would talk like a lot before that, right? It was probably close
Yeah.
to even a year that you guys were talking.
Sent Ralph the first
doing
DM,
the
you know what I'm saying?
dieting and all that, right? Yeah.
That's
Dick
right.
pic- all
we did that
dick
for a
pics are
while.
welcomed.
Oh, there you go. Bowski. Or no, you changed your username. Let's say it's Bowski at Instagram.
Bowski_train.
So
IG.
No, but you changed
Nice
it. It's like
plug
Ralph.
there.
You gotta
Nice
plug
plug
everything.
there. Choo choo.
Might as well. So at the time, back then, well, let's revert to that then. So when we met, like you guys came out to my side of town for spring training, and then at the time you were like, I think I'm pregnant,
Yes.
Yeah.
and you didn't want to deadlift heavy because you were like, I don't know if I should or not.
Right.
Yeah. How'd you feel then? Because you hadn't told many people, right?
Well, it was a weird way to find out because we found out the morning we left. Well, I took a pregnancy test because I was late. And I was like, I know I'm going to be drinking out there, so I should
Oh, that's
check.
right.
To be sure.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't want to regret it. And we were trying at the time. So I checked and it was positive. And I was like, it is positive. Like, this is weird. And,
Did you freak
and I
out?
walked out of the rest. Yes, a little bit. And I think
you cry?
no, I was like,
I did.
not, yes, I was not.
I got
here.
teary eyed, and she was kind of like, oh, "What?"
Yeah, like I
What's
was
the big
because I
deal?
walked out of the restroom and I showed him the test, and he started crying and he hugged me, and I was still like, oh my gosh, I think I'm.
I
really
wasn't bawling
pregnant.
though. I wasn't bawling.
No,
I
like
was tears of joy.
Yeah, exactly.
Just tears of joy,
I mean,
like shit for
Were you
real.
like in shock?
Really?
a little bit,
Yeah.
and also like not believing it because we did have a bit of a. We weren't sure if I was going to be able to get pregnant because there was just a couple of health issues that arose when I told my doctor that I was trying, and they found certain things that may make it a little hard. But I think it almost took a year, right, from the time we started trying.
Yeah, about a year.
So
Busting all kinds.
So yeah, ew.
For some reason, when she said you were crying, I was thinking of that scene of the Star Wars remake where Vader's like, no.
Yeah.
So okay, so what made you guys decide like we're ready to have a kid? What was the factor?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Because you guys are like, we had an approach to it, right? But a lot of people sometimes don't. But you guys are like, we actively wanted to try to have a kid. Like,
Yeah.
was it just the age? Was it that you guys?
Yeah, I
felt-
think it was age. And
I think that was a major factor.
3 years into our marriage.
Uh,
Who's the
I
first one to
was-
bring it up? Like, were you like the one that's like, let's have a kid?
I don't think I
don't
was.
remember. Yeah, maybe it was
I
me.
think it
could
was
have been me.
mutual. I mean, I don't want to say it was peer pressure, but I mean, we did have a lot of family and friends like, hey, you know, you
You're
guys have
getting
been
any
married
younger.
for like 3 years. When
Yeah.
are you guys gonna have a kid? And I mean, we knew we wanted to have kids. I don't know about the plural part anymore, but just kidding. just kidding.
Two tops. It'd be nice to have a boy,
But
Yeah.
yeah,
We'll
I think
see.
it just felt like it was the right time to start trying. But I don't think there was like a definitive like. And honestly, I do feel like Ralph really wanted a baby. And not that I didn't want a baby, but I knew what it was to have a baby because I grew up in a single parent household.
Oh, okay.
And my brothers are younger than me. And, you know, even though we had a babysitter, she really wasn't there.
Did you kind of take over too?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so you already had like an idea of what
and I think, even my mom now to this day, she's like, I think I scarred you for life because, you know, like you helped a lot in raising my two brothers. But, I think it was just something we knew we wanted. And I mean, it's one of those things where you're scared regardless and you kind of like put it off almost like, oh no, like we'll wait, we'll wait.
Eventually.
Yeah. And then, you know, it just kind of happened, and it was it was relatively smooth process, but I've heard all the horror stories as far as trying to get pregnant. And I'm like, how are all these girls that young girls, like they're not even trying and they get pregnant, and over here,
first time.
What
the heck, man?
Got friends with several kids. I'm just like, dude, I'm older than you guys.
Yeah.
You have more kids than
I wonder though if there is like that pressure associated with trying. It does affect the likelihood of getting pregnant, because a lot of times, like you said, people get pregnant all the time without even trying. It's like the first time you forgot to wear a condom or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're pregnant.
Well, you don't really forget to put on a condom, you know, if you ask me.
I'm a forgetful person.
Wow. Pull out game strong.
Hashtag damn right. So, okay, so you're like, we're going to try, and then went from the trying, and like how long was it till you got pregnant?
About a year.
Wow, so it did take a while.
Yeah. It did take a while.
Were you questioning your bullets there, buddy?
No, I think her pregnancy pills, the birth control was...
You weren't ever questioning your swimmers that had to be her birth control?
Yeah, it was the birth control. I think it was because her body...
Birth control like affected the fertility?
I think so.
I wasn't
like
taking birth control, babe.
You were for a little while.
No, but that wasn't when we were trying.
Yeah, well, you got off it, and I think your body had to adjust to not being on it.
I wasn't even on it for more than a couple months.
Oh, well, I don't know. That was your first
He
time.
just doesn't want to admit that his swimmers were maybe slightly not the strongest. They weren't Michael Phelps.
I think it was
you know what I mean?
it was a bit me, because I had some issues in terms. It wasn't like anything crazy, but the doctor did tell me that can make
Affected.
Yeah. And it was one of those things where you can't do anything about it, because if they mess with your uterus, then it might be even harder to get pregnant.
The more I talk to women, the more I realize, first of all, vaginas are a pain in the ass. Number one.
They are.
Secondly, like a lot of women have like issues like with something reproductive wise.
Yeah.
Like it just amazes me. I mean, it makes me wonder whether it's just that I'm more knowledgeable about this stuff or talking to more people, or if something is changing with our culture and maybe food or nutrition or whatever, where people are not as healthy as they were years ago.
And I think it was one of those things that the only reason why they found, it's these things called fibroids. They live in your uterus and they could grow. And that's what.
So I've heard of this.
Yes,
it's actually pretty common. Actually, I've
well,
heard of other women with this.
I didn't know what it was until, because it was one of those things where it's like, what is that? You know, like I had no idea. And I mean, I think I'm pretty lucky because they're really small to the point where they don't need to try and mess with them. But I've had people that I know of that they've grown as big as a grapefruit.
Whoa, grapefruits are huge.
So like they have to remove them. Like at that point, it's not about. But again, if they remove them, you probably will not be able to get pregnant at all. So if they're to a point where they're really small, they'd rather not mess with it so that you have a better chance of getting pregnant. So I really think that's probably what was causing all that. And it's one of those things where you just have to deal with it for the rest of your life. But I don't think I would have known unless, I told my doctor, hey, I'm trying to get pregnant. And, you know,
and
like,
then they did all
they,
that.
yeah.
Is that procedure normally to have, you go to a doctor and you say, I'm having a hard time getting pregnant or whatnot, and then they test you first versus like testing his swimmers?
Well,
my White Walkers.
Well, I was going.
My White Walker.
My mini White Walkers.
I was going to my OB, so like he wasn't even like part of the process, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it seems like if they testing guys like fertility is one of the last things that happens.
I would say so, right?
When it's like the
because
easiest process.
he would never
right?
question like.
No.
It's like it's never the guy's fault.
No, well, I didn't have.
It's always the girl.
Yeah, I never had to go
What's wrong with
anywhere.
her?
And
He's like, I got strong swimmers. You don't even know. Michael Phelps, like a million of them in there.
Yeah, but it's crazy how common it is now that I know of it. There's a lot of people that, and I from mommy podcasts that I listen to, there are women that have it, and their pregnancy is crazy hard, like to the point where they're in bed rest the whole time because the pain of that causes the and like sometimes the baby doesn't make it, and so it was a little scary, like all the what ifs that could have happened. But my doctor, she kept telling me you should be fine. They're small. If anything, they're either gonna get smaller or they'll go away if you get pregnant.
Oh, I have heard where pregnancy helps you guys in certain respects.
Yeah, because that like I don't know exactly how it works, but basically if you're pregnant, they can't get bigger because the baby's taking like everything that it needs to develop.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So were you worried at some point, like a year in, where you're like, this is turning into work?
Yeah, well, it wasn't work, but when you enjoy what you do, you
never work a day in your life.
No, well, I started thinking about it, like, well, what's going on? I think that's kind of what prompted us to go to the doctor and see what's going on, and I mean,
did you do the whole like calendar when you're like I'm ovulating in this time and you were trying to maximize
because I was like, the more that I think about it, like you said, it's like more pressure and more. It's like
then it
I know
becomes
this
a
is
job.
happening, and that's already making me anxious enough.
Nobody likes to work.
That it's like no, I'm it's just if it happens, it happens, and we're just gonna keep trying. There were times when I would get my time of the month, it was a little heartbreaking because it was like, okay, well, I'm not pregnant, so, and I think it was one of those things that because we were trying and it wasn't happening, but I mean, thinking back to it, it's like I have a lot of friends and family that they're like, sometimes it like it's normal that it can take that long. And the doctor did also tell me that I probably developed that because I was in my 30s and I still hadn't gotten pregnant. That, it's considered almost a little old. Like you're in your 30s and you still haven't had a child. And that's probably what caused it. And I'm like, seriously? Like
But that's like such a social pressure. Like you as women feel like this pressure of needing to have kids. Like you have a definite clock. Like guys, we'll be 50.
Yeah, we do, and it's crazy because it's like
swimmers.
seriously, like I don't feel old.
Yeah,
Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
Michael Phelps.
Yeah, and I mean, my doctor, well, the one that I would see, she was very blunt, but she was also very like, I appreciated her bluntness, but at the same time, she was like, but you're fine, she's like, like she was like, you're fine, just you're getting anxious and you're fine.
Yeah.
But
And maybe stress too. Your stress levels were pretty high because she had just started a new job and was trying to do well there. So
that's true.
The stress is a big deal. She was training hard too at the time, in the gym, and she wasn't seeing the results she wanted, so she had that pressure on herself. So she was stressing herself out a little bit, but she was making some really good gains. And right before she got pregnant, she was like right where she wanted to be.
Oh.
And then
and that's where I'm trying to get back to.
Yeah. It's funny how it all worked out, but it's all for the best.
How was the pregnancy?
The pregnancy was great.
Yeah, it was smooth.
Any weird cravings?
Smooth.
No.
I don't think so.
I mean, it wasn't weird. I just wanted to eat like a 2-year-old. Peanut butter and jelly and orange juice and chocolate milk.
You have like weird stuff. Like I hear moms get like they crave weird stuff. Like pickles
I've heard of
Yeah.
moms that crave paper.
I've heard dirt. I've heard dirt.
Weird.
I'm just like,
That's
seriously,
gross.
paper? Like,
I'm like, how do you
Is
know what
that
dirt
probably
tastes
like
like?
a vitamin deficiency of some sort?
I would think so, because I'm like, paper? Really?
But
Like,
what vitamins you getting from paper?
I don't know.
You're not getting
Fiber. You get all the fiber.
I guess no, because I heard if you eat random things, it's because you're low in a certain vitamin in your body and you need
Yeah.
that. And
That's
why
what
you
I've
start
heard too,
craving
that it's some
random
kind
junk.
of deficiency.
Yeah, for sure. No.
But yeah, no, nothing crazy, right? I didn't make him get up at 2 a.m. and go get in and out or something.
Just pretend like she's not there. Let's be honest here. Did she make you do some crazy stuff?
No,
Go to
she
Dairy
really
Queen
didn't.
like at 1 in the morning. And
Nope,
like, I need
she
some-
was a very, very beautiful pregnant person.
I
Like
will
some brownies
admit,
walking-
you know,
walking around
as
glowing and
women, we
stuff.
have all these insecurities and all these pressures and all this craziness. And I will admit, though, that while I was pregnant, I've, and it sounds weird to say it, but I've never felt that beautiful. Like I really, like I felt confident and for some reason, like while I was pregnant, I felt so good about myself. And I don't know if it's the hormones or what.
More
like I think
oxytocin.
back even to like my wedding, I'm like, I didn't feel this beautiful for my wedding. It's so weird, but like those are the things that would go through my head.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like I said, like the hormones, they have you on this weird high, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just always bliss.
Yeah. Just the
Yeah, she's
end
not
when
lying.
you're trying to get that baby out is a completely different story.
That's fun to watch.
How much
Yeah,
did you
like
watch?
literally, I watched the entire.
Did you
process,
really?
Yeah.
Did you get like woozy
Nope,
at all?
I did not.
Really?
Nope.
Did you cry?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hold on. So was he holding your hand over here and he's like looking down to see what's going on?
Okay,
How's
okay.
this going down?
Pregnancy was great. You know, we did a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah.
You came to the baby shower.
We took pictures.
We took pictures. Yeah, that we had. We
Prego
took
pics.
really fun pictures. I'll have to share those with you.
Yeah.
And you know, I went off work about 30 days before my due date, and she ended up coming about a week before my due date. She was due like on the 16th of November, and I had her on the 11th of November,
Veterans Day.
Veterans Day.
Fun fact though, Veterans Day, she will never have to go to school on her birthday.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah.
For her entire life.
That's true.
Well, for her entire.
They're still gonna make me take
Adolescent
cupcakes or
life,
something,
yeah.
though. You know that.
Oh, of course, but you know, after she graduates high school, then that.
Then you're in the real world.
Yeah. And then she's in the real world.
Yeah.
We get to welcome her.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the 10th, I started getting contractions and the whole thing, and it was like a whole evening of, it was like every 20 minutes, right? And then it was like every 10 minutes, and he was writing all of this down, and then at about like
2 in the morning.
midnight,
Yeah.
it just stopped, and I woke up, and I was like, we've been asleep, because I even made him call off work, because I was like, I know I'm not due yet, but like this is not normal, you know,
Right,
like, and it
yeah.
was pretty
So your
consistent.
water didn't break?
They broke my water at the hospital, and I was like, this is, so anyway, I called the doctor in the morning, and I told the nurse what happened and stuff, and she's like, oh, you're not due for another week. She's like, you're just having Braxton Hicks, you're fine. But then all day again, like they were probably about an hour apart at that point.
Yeah.
They were about an hour apart, and like he was walking me around the block, and you know, like he was super patient.
Because the walking helps, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because like I got this idea that it's like it has to be Braxton Hicks, then I was like, she's not coming. I'm just getting these weird.
So for those that don't know, and I think I know a little bit about this, so the Braxton, what is it called again?
Braxton Hicks, it's
Is-
basically false labor pains or something.
Okay.
But basically, it's like labor pains, but it's not labor. You're not in labor.
But you
I-
still went to the hospital even though, just because you were trying to be cautious?
Well, because the nurse was like, you're still not due for another week, you should be fine. And if you said that they stopped, then you're fine. And I mean, it's one of those things too, where it's your first time and you're like kind of just trying to figure out how this whole thing goes or whatever.
Trusting everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I kept having contractions the next day, and Braxton Hicks, quote unquote. And then again at night, I started getting them like every 20 minutes. And again, he started like writing everything down. And then they started coming every 10 minutes. And then I think it got to like every 6 minutes. And it was probably, by this time, it was probably like 1 a.m. And I was like, I can't take it anymore. I'm like, I don't know if these are Braxton Hicks. I'm like, but this, I just, like, it was hurting really bad.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, screw it. He's like, let's just go to the hospital. And I was registered and everything already, so that I could just go.
Yeah, life tip, pre-register at the hospital.
Yeah, because you don't want to be in
line.
all this pain and then have to fill out all this paperwork. They will not admit you.
Also, pay your premium and your copay or whatever in advance.
Your copay.
Or they're going to come in and ask for it
Just
after you have the
know how
baby.
your hospital
I hate
works
that.
because,
It's very intruding.
Yeah, I hate
Yeah,
that.
it's like, it's crazy because it's like, I can't imagine like this woman in pain and like you won't admit her until she fills all this paperwork out and pays her copay, whatever. It was, But anyway, we did prepare for that.
$500 now.
What are contractions feel like?
It's like menstrual cramps to an umph degree.
Men don't have
What
menstrual
does that feel like
cramps.
to a man? What does that feel like to a man?
It's just your whole like core, basically, like your back, your stomach, like it just clenches and like you
Kind of like a Charlie horse, sort of.
Yeah, and like depending, I think it just depends also on how you get your contractions, because most women, from what I've heard, the pain is on their back. Like like you just get this which is what I experienced. But it's like everything down there just like gets this like, and you're just like, oh my God, like it just hurts really bad. It's like a.
It's like a cramp, like a.
Yeah, well, think of it maybe like when your, I don't know, your hamstring cramps up or something, but like your whole belly and your back and down there and everything, it just feels like it just like almost like someone's trying to like paralyze it.
So cramps are what? Like everything's just shifting, opening up for preparing to release the baby.
Yeah, like I think like your hips and all those bones are basically like
Spreading.
Yeah, all those muscles,
Ouch.
which is, and at the same time, it's so amazing that your body knows what to do, and
Right.
the baby knows what to do. It's that part is
biology.
amazing. Yeah, right. That part's crazy to me. So we get to the hospital about 2 a.m, and they admit me, they check me, and I'm actually 7 centimeters.
So nice.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
You have 10 centimeters.
I'm off. What does that mean?
You have to to get admitted regularly to pretty much any hospital, you need to be at least 4 centimeters dilated. So down there needs to be at least 4 centimeters dilated, and I don't know how they
Down
check
where?
it, but well, I mean, how else am I supposed to say it?
I'm so immature. I'm sorry.
So, is this like a finger test, or what are they doing here?
Basically, the nurse does a finger test.
Okay, just
Yeah.
curious.
What?
Pregnancy is one of the most like invasive experiences as far as the
Unpleasant.
doctor having to check down there. You have to do a pee test every single time you go to the doctor because they need to make sure something.
Your kidneys are functioning. Maybe?
Yeah, it's.
I'm assuming you had to have a female nurse do that, right? Like you can't have male nurses do that.
Well, my doctor was a male. My
The doctor,
my
right?
OB.
But the nurses.
But what I noticed that he did every time because they don't do the finger stuff every single appointment. But when he had to do it, he had another nurse in there.
Right. From my understanding, that's not the
Yeah.
way you have to do it, right? You
Yeah.
always have to have a
Yeah.
female present.
Yeah.
Otherwise
Did
they
you
get
do-
sued for-
What's that?
I said otherwise they'd get sued for like
Probably sexual
Yeah.
harassment.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things too, though, where because everything was so new to us, Ralph was going to every appointment with me, so that was really nice.
That's so nice.
Yeah, that was really nice. And I think it was
and I'll
nice
go
for
to
him,
every
too.
appointment in the future if
It was
that
really
far.
nice, when we
I
first
feel like
heard
somebody's
her
laying brownie
heartbeat.
points over here.
I think. Yeah, he experienced all that, which was really.
Yeah, I lived it with her, so
Yeah.
And I think that's the best part.
I think that's the way to go.
It adds to it. It adds to the attachment you get with your kids.
Yeah.
Kid in my case, but
The only thing is, I had this appointment where they were gonna test and see if the baby had Down syndrome and some other 2 conditions, and he couldn't make it to that appointment. It was because it's an office that's only open like twice a week and only like these weird hours. So he couldn't make that appointment. And I was like, it should be fine. They're just going to check that. And then, the doctor's going to let me know if everything's okay. And it turns out that in that appointment, the practitioner or whatever she was, she told me the sex of the baby.
Oh.
And he missed out on that. And it was one of those things where I think it just came so natural to her because throughout our conversation, I kept saying he. And she was like, what did she say? She said, you're going to have to change something. I can't remember what she said. She said, because it's a girl. And I mean,
did you want to know?
I didn't care if I knew or
Okay.
not.
yeah. Me either.
but
But it would have been
like-
nice to be there.
Right.
But that moment, like, I wasn't able to share it with him. And
Yeah.
but it was like when she said it, it was so unexpected, and I did tear up because it was like, oh my God, it's a little girl. I got really excited and stuff. And it was one of those things that I left the office and I was like, how am I going to tell Ralph that she slipped up and she told me that it was a girl to the one appointment that, he was kind of worried about not going to. And I got home or I bought something. Oh, I bought the little slippers.
It's some little slippers that they made out of like crystal glass. And it had like a little heart on it and it was pink. So that's the dead giveaway right there.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I tried to get home. Well, I got home before he did, and I was trying to, surprise him and tell him in
So I
a
got
special way.
stuff for the baby's room and this and that, and I was kind of like going through the stuff, and I see this little glass slipper ornament thing, and I see the little heart on there, and it's pink. I'm like, what is this? And she just kind of looks at me like, and I was like, oh. Yeah.
So
I was like, oh shit. So we're having a girl.
So honestly, were you a little disappointed? Because you seem like a guy that would want a boy first.
Oh, it didn't matter to me. I think maybe at first I was like, yeah, I gotta have a boy, but it might even have to be the reason would be I have 3 older sisters, so I'm just kind of like more used to female presence.
I think as a guy,
As a guy, I think like I'd be more attached.
leaning towards a boy.
No, I was leaning towards a girl inside, I think.
Oh, okay.
And I never really talked about it. Like as it got more real, it became more real. I was like, well, a girl would be nicer. It'd be nicer to have a girl. But a little boy, I don't know. But I do want a little boy. I think it easier to learn. It would be easier to learn with a girl than with a boy. To learn how to be a father, be a loving father with the girl.
Yeah.
To be able to give her that fatherly love that a boy also needs.
Right.
And with a boy you can't really learn how to do that, I think. And it's funny because most of my friends also have girls, so that's also like that's
That
all
was
I saw.
benefit.
Yeah,
That's all I
you get a
saw.
lot in
That's
common.
what I was familiar with. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
but-
all of our close friends, girls.
I think the
Yeah.
stats in the U.S. are changing, where it's primarily now more women than it is men.
That's crazy.
I
I
think.
heard that somewhere.
Let me see if I can find it. So, did you do the epidural stuff? I, for a long time, by the way, did not know that was like a shot to the spine. I thought it was like a
yeah, it's a
pill
shot
or
to the
something.
spine.
I was like, take this pill, whatever.
And they have to do it like so perfectly so it doesn't affect you in the future.
I need to chime in on that as far as epidural.
Yes.
You can tell the story on that, on the
No,
epidural.
I'll just-
It's a good story, right? I mean, it's a...
Well, I'll just make it super short, but basically, she deserves a Medal of Honor because she basically pushed the baby out like a champ. No epidural, no nothing, no assistance. Just I'm gonna push this kid out, and that's it. And yeah, she's a screamer.
No, at on that last push, and I didn't even Ralph like thinking back to it. He's like, it was like the most raw thing I've heard in my life because it really wasn't like I was like, oh, I need to scream now, or you know what I mean? Because you're just so out of your element, and you're just kind of
that shit
trying
is
to
raw.
get this person out of you.
Were you out?
Was I out?
Did it scare you, the amount
Nah,
of...
I mean, it's something
No?
I expected. Like,
Right,
had you, one long time ago, it was described to me like having a baby, like pushing out babies, like shitting a watermelon. And I don't remember who told me that. It was probably one of my friend's moms. But
Oh my God.
but she says, yeah, having a kid's like shitting a watermelon, and like I would imagine that you would scream if you're shitting a
Right.
watermelon.
Yeah.
So I expected her.
You didn't have any,
Wow,
like,
the visual on that
sympathy
one.
You could
How
probably
big-
Google
how-
search that
how
and you'll
big
find it.
watermelon. How big?
That's funny.
So I guess it's pretty average, by the way. The sex ratio between male and females, it's pretty even. So I guess male is slightly higher, like
We're the
1.06.
we're the dominant sex.
Very, 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 very even.
Men are superior to women. Come at me.
Come at me,
Right.
bro.
Come at
Did
me,
you have
bro.
any like sympathy pains when you were watching?
that's a good
everything?
Damn, that's a good question. I don't even really remember. I just remember I was happy for her to get through it.
Yeah.
You know, but I
yeah.
knew she would get through it. Of course, like she's tough.
Yeah.
Women are tough in general. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy. Like she's just pushing this baby. I was raw. It's like the rawest form you will ever see a woman. Just pushing a baby out,
Yeah.
screaming at not necessarily at the top of her lungs, but like you could see the pain and all the passion and everything just in through the facial expressions.
That's cool.
Because I mean, like I said, if you're shitting a watermelon, you're gonna make some facial expressions.
Some facials. Yeah.
It's gonna hurt a little
Some
bit.
facials.
Oh man.
But yeah, then the baby came out, and then you know they have their afterbirth, which I completely missed because I
Yeah.
was so focused on the kid.
Right.
And it's like that's the most
Do-
beautiful thing you'll ever see. Honestly.
Do they still let you cut the?
Yes.
Okay. Did you
Oh,
do
yeah.
that?
Oh wow!
Yes.
You cut the
I
umbilical
cut the
cord?
umbilical cord. It was the squishiest thing I've ever cut.
Really?
Yeah, it's gross. It's gross, but
Dude, you know it's like tripas.
it's what?
If you're eating,
it's tripas. Yeah.
Have you ever eaten tripas?
No, I don't mess with guts and tripas, none of that. Yeah, I'm weird. I don't eat that stuff. Cow tongue, cow head, all that stuff. I don't mess with that.
Tongue is the shit, dog.
I don't know where that tongue's
Hi
been.
guys, how you cook it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know where that big old
Ralph
nasty
doesn't
tongue's
even
been.
eat seafood. That's how much
I don't
of a
like
weirdo
seafood.
he
I
is.
might eat some fried shrimp, but
Yeah.
I've said in other podcasts, like every culture has its what I call poverty food, and like Mexican has like menudo. It's got like the tripas and the cow tongue and like the brain. But then like, you know, black people have like the chiclets and the chicklins or what is it called?
pig feet.
No, I
Pig
thought it
feet
was called
and-
grits.
Well, grits
about the
grits is like I think a byproduct of oatmeal. So it's like the sandy stuff that isn't full oats.
Yeah.
And you can make that into like a
They mix it
sandy
with fat.
oatmeal.
They mix it with fat.
I'm sure.
It's gross.
Have you guys had
Collard greens.
migas?
No.
No,
What is that?
migas is like another one. It's like a poverty food. It's like it's like a
Migas?
mixture of shit. So it's like stuff that like essentially was almost gonna go bad. So it's like bread and like cheese and stuff that like gets all put together with like sugar and whatever. So you bake it. It's almost like a bread. It's like a sweet bread, but it's like a mixture of shit that you're
Never
just like.
heard of it.
It doesn't look appealing, but it's good when you eat.
You guys
heard
Google
that.
search.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But okay, so you cut the umbilical cord. So you watched it.
Yeah, I watched it entirely. Like it's amazing what
See, I don't know if I could do it, man.
you could do it.
I don't know if I could do it.
You could
I mean,
do
I
it.
could do it, but I might just be celibate after that. I'm just gonna be like a monk.
That's the second. That's the second time I hear that word this week. Celibate. Actually, in the last 2 days, as a matter of fact.
Really?
The one that said it.
Well, you're the second one that said it. But her brother talks about being celibate on occasion.
The one I met?
The one you met. The one in prison. Well, not in prison. But
He's got to be self. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. But as far as the down there, what happens like it. The only way to put it is it stretches out.
There's always that wives' tale joke where there's always that joke. It's not a wives' tale. It's always that joke.
It's like, how'd that baby come out of there?
No, not that.
Oh, no, I'm
the one where
sorry.
like you go up to the doctor and you slip an extra 20 and you're like throw an extra stitch on there. Like have you ever heard that joke?
Oh my god.
You guys have never heard that joke?
I've never heard that. That's hilarious.
Yeah. You're like throw another extra stitch on there. Look at Ralph.
Speaking of stitches, I did have
That's
to get
funny.
stitched up, so
That's
it was
funny.
yeah, that sucked too.
Yeah.
That sucked. I think it sucked even more because I didn't have an epidural, so
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Constant
right.
pain.
Oh.
She's a champ though. She's a champ. It doesn't matter.
Are they dissolvable or you
Yeah.
have to go get them out?
No, yeah, they're
Oh, okay.
dissolvable.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so that was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they put you on Norco and ibuprofen and all
What's
that
Norco?
because
Like a pain thing?
painkiller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Norco didn't work for me though.
What did you have? Oh, for the
For
surgery.
my knee surgery, didn't work.
But yeah, that sucked. I when she was stitching me, I remember I couldn't stop shaking, and she was like, "It's normal, it's okay." Because I was like, "I'm sorry,
This
I'm
shit
sorry,
ain't
I
normal."
can't stop moving."
Well,
But-
it's your body's probably like
Yeah.
not panic mode, but it's probably
It's in
because
survival
that happened to me
mode.
when I was getting tattooed. Like after about like 8 hours, your body starts shivering, and you might not be cold, but it just starts shaking.
Yeah,
like
I don't remember being
Yeah.
cold, but yeah, my whole body was just shivering.
the constant
and
trauma
yeah,
of the birth and all that.
Yeah, it is a bit of trauma. It really
Yeah,
is.
you're telling me.
Yeah.
So, what are you feeling? Like you're giving birth is probably not feeling great, but after you give birth, is there a sense of relief?
Oh yeah, I mean, the pain is gone. I mean, you have all these other things going on, but
Instantly, they take away the baby. Though, are you panicking?
I did panic about that even before we went into the hospital because I know that like if there's something wrong with the baby, they'll rush the baby to NICU.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's it. So I always had that in the back of my head, like, because that happened with my niece and, other experiences that I've heard of. And that was one thing that I repeated to him, like, all the time. I was like, you go with her. Who cares what's going on with me? Because my mom and my mother-in-law were in the room. So it was like one of these things, like, I don't want my baby to get mixed up, or like, just all these crazy things that go through your head, you know? So I always told him, you leave with her, you make sure that she's okay, blah, blah, blah. So I think because I knew I had told him this so many times, I wasn't worried about it.
You weren't gonna get that baby out of my sight.
Yeah. So that I wasn't worried about.
So what ended up happening was
Mic to mouth, dog. Mic to mouth.
Mic to mouth. Homo, no homo. So what ended up happening was the baby was born. What's up, Chewy Snow? Anyway, the baby was born, and they moved her to like a little crib that's right next to the bed.
Oh, okay.
So it was all in the same room.
And they make her cry, right?
And
they checked all of that.
Yeah, they
right
checked her,
next
and
to us.
I was right there. I was hovering over.
Yeah, they pull
their
out
shoulder.
like this special bed for newborns, and
Yeah.
it has everything that they need to check for.
So how do they make her cry? Do they slap her in the butt still? 'Cause that was a
She
thing back
started
in the day,
crying
right?
when
She
she
started
was
crying
born.
on her own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when she came out, I
Yeah.
do remember that. As soon
That-
as she was completely out of me, she started crying.
And that's
Yeah.
to make sure that she's getting air in her lungs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and that's when it becomes very
That's
real.
the ideal, right?
It's very
that
real
they
at
start
that point.
crying
You're
as
just like,
soon as
oh
they're
shit,
born.
like here's a kid. What happens next?
So okay, hold on. So they pull her out, and then do you come around with the scissors to cut the umbilical cord, or you already had a hem in hand, or what? Like, what?
No, they're like, Daddy, you want to cut the umbilical cord? And it's an option. Like you don't have to. But I'm like, hell yeah, I want to
The
cut.
midwife was holding her, and there was There was literally like 20 people in the room.
Yeah, there was a
And
lot of people,
that
and
part-
everybody was very pretty good.
Yeah, but
They must have just got in on their shift because they were all like happy,
in a
and
good
giddy.
mood. Yeah, 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, she because I was admitted at about 2, and I started pushing at about 6.
Yeah, about 30 minutes later.
And it's funny because it's like, you know, the nurse is coming and checking you every so often. And there was a moment when she came and she's like, okay, you're ready. You're ready to start pushing. And it's like,
Yeah.
what?
We're like, huh?
Are you serious?
Yeah, like,
And it's
Yeah.
like you just see this mob of people coming into your room with like all kinds of stuff.
With everything.
And, like, I guess the stuff where they put the placenta and everything that, you know.
Yeah.
But
That
it's
thing's
so
gross, by the
awkward
way.
because between contractions, you can't push unless you're having a contraction.
Why?
Because that's when like your body's like,
Opens up.
opening.
yeah.
I have like
It's like a revolving door.
I'm sorry if I laugh like halfway through this. 'cause
It's
I have,
weird.
I have like a cartoonish like mind at times. So when you're telling me about,
You're gonna
like,
call it cartoonish.
I know it's cartoonish and pervy at times, but cartoonish most of the time.
Yeah.
And when you're telling me that you cut the umbilical cord, like I'm picturing you walking up to cutting it, and like the scissors are dull and you can't get through it. You're like,
Oh my
you're
God.
like,
No,
can you give me another set over here?
Yeah, you kind of. It is a little squishy. That's why earlier I mentioned it was squishy, but like if you cut it a certain way, it'll cut. The scissors
Kind
will
of like
cut.
a rubber band.
Yeah, yeah.
Very gentle. But then when
Yeah.
you're saying about the pushing, like my mind was thinking like of like you see stuff floating in space. Like I'm thinking like a baby floating, and then you're pushing, it just slams the head.
the baby's like trying to get
Not
out
time.
of here.
Not time yet.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a
No, it's
cartoonish
crazy.
mind.
Like you see
You're
the crown
fine.
of their head, you see like the hair mixed with like I want
Did
to
they
say
let
it's
you
blood.
touch
It's weird.
her head when she was crowning?
It's so gross.
I couldn't
No.
watch. I'd be like, oh,
You can watch.
They
Other
didn't
side.
ask.
You can YouTube
I
it.
mean, I
Just
don't-
YouTube it. It's all good.
I'm good.
It's there.
But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, it's weird between each contraction. Like we're all just kind of sitting there waiting for the next contraction, and because they're monitoring me, like they could see when the next contraction's coming.
What?
So
Yeah.
you gotta wait for the contraction to come to be able to push, and
how
I
do
mean
they know?
sometimes like it can take 10 minutes for the next contraction to come.
Did they have
So you got like a
sticky-
little bit of a head coming out, and you're just like waiting.
Well, it goes back
Yeah.
in. If,
Oh
Yeah,
my
it goes.
Yeah. And that's why the nurse was
weird.
like, "Okay, Cynthia, like
You really
I'm
gotta
really
push.
gonna need you to push."
Yeah.
And I think that's when the whole screaming happened because
Yeah.
I knew
You're
the
just
next.
giving
It
it
was I think because I pushed for about 20-30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna have-
So, you know, every time the contraction came, it's the opportunity for the baby to be born. And it's one of those things that once the head is out, they could pull
Yeah.
the body out.
Once the
But,
head is
like-
out, they got to kind of maneuver
Yeah.
one of the arm, the shoulder, and then the arm. And after that, they just slip right out.
But between contractions, you're just sitting there and he's like, you know, holding my hand and stuff.
Yeah,
And
it-
like everyone's having their own conversation and like
Lucy, what do you want
it's
for
so
lunch?
weird. Like
Yeah,
if you think
basically.
in a cartoonish
Yeah,
way, it's
yeah.
like, oh, the contraction's coming and everyone's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then
Piled
it's like
around.
the baby doesn't come.
Chipotle?
And it's like
You
they
like
all turn
Chipotle?
around.
Chipotle, yeah.
la, 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 and it's like
Have some sour cream
this is
on
weird. I'm
like
just
black
sitting
beans.
here with my legs in the air. Like it's
It's like,
awkward.
Please no red salsa.
Steering a joke.
Yeah, so that part is it's one of those things where like you have to just experience to know because like I mean we didn't do like the Lamaze classes or anything, but
You don't have to
we
do
read
that.
like a bunch. Well,
It's
I
all
read
bullshit.
books and we watched
It is.
things
It's a
on
waste of time.
YouTube,
Yeah.
which was like a whole Lamaze class. Like it was like a yeah, it was.
We
a
just
video.
watch YouTube, and you find everything on YouTube.
Yeah.
But like the
You find this
'cause-
podcast on YouTube.
Yeah,
LifeGeneralist.
yeah, when you're like when you're trying to have the baby and pushing with every contraction is called transitioning. So like we did learn some things, you know. It's like when the baby's gonna be born, and like the videos that we watched on YouTube. The lady that was teaching
they
this
kind of
class,
help.
she was like, whatever happens in transitioning, like you can't like hold it against your partner because things are gonna be said. I'm never doing this again, or like you did this to me.
She still says that.
So yeah, but yeah.
So you can't have the baby's head kind of halfway out for a while because doesn't like the baby's head is very soft still.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it gets shaped.
It kind of morphs.
So is there anything you can do to help get more contractions so then therefore you can push?
They have that medication that can make you contract.
Pitocin, is
I think
it?
that's, yeah.
Pitocin?
But they only give you that if you're not progressing. And like, if you're like, from what I understand, if you're like 7 centimeters and like, it's been like 6 hours and you're just stuck right there, I think that's when they give it to you.
Yeah, because that happened to a friend of mine. So, and she had that medication given to her. Sure enough, right when she's like, the contractions are 10 times worse with it, according to all the nurses.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah.
That if they have to give you Pitocin, it's bad.
Yeah.
Like it gets really, because I mean, I imagine it's the body's not taking its natural course
Yep.
to it's you're like forcing it or whatever, and yeah.
So did they explain to you how they know you're going to get a contraction? That's interesting.
Well, I mean, I felt like it was kind of self-explanatory, right? Because like, you know, the
heartbeat?
monitor
Did they have sticky pads like stuck to your belly?
to the belly too.
Okay.
So they're monitoring the baby, they're
Okay.
monitoring me, and the little machine, like you see it spiking up like when it's coming.
Oh,
And
okay.
you-
So your
like, you
your heart rate
kinda-
increases.
Yeah. And it's crazy because like there's women where like they get to like, you know, 7-8 centimeters and then, you know, the baby turns around and it breaches, or like all these crazy things happen, and then emergency C-section. And so we were really lucky to have a pretty like a
Smooth.
very
Yeah.
smooth.
It is smooth, but it's like a controlled chaos that's just going on within
Yeah.
this little circle. And like me being not standing there, but I was just there. Like there's not much I could do
Right.
to help other than just support her and hold her hand
Yeah.
and hope she doesn't break my hand.
Was she stronger? Was she stronger?
Yes. Yeah, it's like, damn, where did you get all this grip strength from? Yeah, it's crazy though. But good times. You know, can't experience it too much. but-
It was funny because it was the second night that I had been up, and I had kept him up. That was the second night keeping him up. So when we were admitted, from the time we were admitted to the time when I started pushing, in those couple hours, he just couldn't stay awake. But in my head, I was so upset. I wanted to like throw a rock at him and wake him up.
Yeah, you're like,
'Cause I was like, how dare he fall asleep?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going through all this and you're
Yeah.
sleeping
it's
so
like,
peacefully.
but like
Yeah.
thinking back to it, he was like almost just standing, like he couldn't, you know, he was just
Yeah, and then in
sleepy.
the rooms,
But
like,
like in
there's-
the moment, you're thinking like, seriously,
there really
are you
isn't
really
anywhere
trying
to lay
sleep
down
right now?
either. So you just kind of ball yourself up in a chair and just put your head back and
Were you did they
Fall
keep you
asleep.
overnight just to kind of watch you, or did they release you? Like, when did they release you?
After you have the baby, at the hospital that I was at, they take you to the like recovery floor.
Mm-hmm.
Right after you have the baby, if everything's okay, they take you to a recovery room.
Okay.
And you stay there. We were able to stay there up to 3 days,
Oh.
3 or 2 or
I
3
think it was
days.
3 days.
Yeah,
Because they were testing the baby.
they have to
for
continue to
something.
monitor the baby, and like they check for like the hearing, and they keep checking for like, you know, heart,
Jaundice.
jaundice.
Yeah, I was trying to think of.
She did get a little close to that because
Was jaundice caused by like liver failure or something like that?
I'm not sure.
Because it's when you go yellow, right?
Yeah,
I saw that once. Like in real life, like a person.
yeah.
It was hell yellow. It was like a crayon yellow, like those
yellow.
bananas yellow. Like I saw a person like that, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Banana yellow.
It was crazy. Ugh.
Yeah.
So they monitor you for a couple. So okay, so now I'm curious. What happens to you hormonally? Like, so you have a crash maybe a little bit after you have the baby, but you feel relaxed because the baby's done and out and safe. But like afterwards, what happens to your body hormonally? Because there's a lot of stuff that's going on in your body as you're creating a child. That they tell you, warn you about anything? Are you
They
gonna-
do. I mean, they kind of do, but they kind of don't. Yeah, like you said, it's like after you have the baby, you have this weird high, and you have all this energy. Because I wasn't sleepy after I had her. I I just wanted to hold her, and they have a lactation consultant like checking in with you constantly to help you with the whole breastfeeding thing, because it's hard. Like, is the baby latching? Is she getting enough milk? Is she this, that? And it hurts really bad. I don't know why people say that it's not supposed to hurt, but yeah, to me it hurt. And so you have that pressure, and you have somebody else like checking that, make sure that everything's okay down there, like you're not getting blood clots and stuff like that, because then can be bad.
Yeah.
And like I said, they did have to do stitches on me, so they were giving me pain meds for that.
Yeah.
And it's like the aftermath is what is it's almost like, oh my God, like this isn't over. Like,
And really, it's just the beginning.
yeah. So there's you have nurses coming in constantly, checking you, weighing the baby constantly, which is a roadblock that we ran into. Because
don't forget the trying to get the baby to latch.
Yeah,
that was the worst, because she wouldn't
like
latch.
right after you gave birth?
She latched right away.
But after it was frustrating, because.
And I think it was me, because I wasn't making enough milk.
Yeah.
That was right after birth, though?
Yeah.
They want you to breastfeed right away?
It was that day when she was born. You're supposed to put her on you like every 2 hours, every hour,
Skin
whatever.
contact, right?
Yeah. The whole skin to skin. But like that first night, she just was crying, and they were like, well, if you want to breastfeed, you have to keep putting her on you. And
they were putting a little bit of pressure on her.
TMI,
for that.
but like
that's where the stress was coming
it's
from.
bleeding, like because it's like
So
everything's like the little valves are opening, and like it's like, seriously, like I'm in pain up here now too, like and she, like, it, I mean, you saw, like, I was putting her on me regardless of the pain, and
we really
she wasn't
didn't
getting
wanna give her
enough. She
formula.
wasn't getting full.
Yeah.
And she was crying, and that night nurse, like, she was like, no, she's like, as soon as you get her off you, start pumping, and that way your body knows that you need more. And she was so mean. And so finally the morning time came, and the next shift nurse came in, and I was just like, look, she hasn't stopped crying all night. I'm breastfeeding her, I'm pumping, and like, give me some freaking formula here. Like,
the kids gotta eat.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, at this point, I don't care. And I think she saw my frustration, and she did bring formula, because that was another thing. They're like, well, we thought you wanted to exclusively breastfeed, and I'm like, I'm rolling with the punches here.
Yeah.
Okay, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
Give me some
I ate formula and I'm fine.
formula.
Okay, just. But anyway,
Is that common for women to have a hard time breastfeeding?
I'm not sure. I think it's just because, like, afterwards I asked my mom if she had a hard time, and she said she did. So I don't know if it's genetics. I don't know if it's stress. I don't know. I haven't researched.
Do you guys know if you breastfed?
I don't. I have no idea.
I from what I understand, I was only breastfed for like a week, and then they
Were you
started.
breastfed?
Yeah, I was both.
I was not breastfed. You know
Well,
why?
I did
You know why?
both for the first 6 months.
Why is that?
I mean, she wasn't getting much out of me, but I was like, I'm
Why?
gonna try
Why?
until she's at least 6 months. But yeah, that the whole breastfeeding thing, like, it sucked. It sucked really bad, because then she dropped more than 10% of her birth weight.
Oh, that's a big deal.
Yes, so they did keep us an extra day. And
Yeah, we were
I
too
was
long.
like, well, yeah, like, I'm breastfeeding her. I know that I said I wanted to breastfeed her, but like, then they did start giving. We were giving her formula every 2 hours.
Yeah.
So,
And she stopped crying.
And she stopped crying. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. But
Did you get concerned when you heard the weight drop?
oh yeah, that was really scary because then it's like the whole jaundice comes into play, like all that, like all kinds of issues, and they will not let you go if she, and then even even though we were giving her formula, they were putting like a little tube on me so that she was still latching. So we wouldn't lose that. So that was hard, especially when we came home because he was holding the little tube and then like we were putting her on and it sucked. That part sucked.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's hard, man.
That was hard.
And I'm over here frustrated because I can't do anything.
Yeah.
You're just there
I
for
can't
support.
breastfeed her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but after they started giving her formula, she gained weight right away, and they were just like, They did let us go that night. I think the night that they saw the difference in her gaining weight, and we had to go to the doctor like right away after. Like a day or two after we came home, right? Because they wanted to make sure that she was continuing to gain weight. Yeah. So yeah, it's like you have this kid, and then it's like this whole set of other challenges. And
Did you decide to store the placenta?
it's funny you say that because I didn't even think about that, and I regret that to this day. Yeah, I wish I would have encapsulated it.
That's an option out there offering to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Because I wonder.
It's good though.
But it's got a lot of stem cells in it. That's essentially what they want is the stem cells from it.
I see.
I don't know. It's interesting because the stem cell research is now getting very popular. Like they're able to take these stem cells and put them into other people for like big injuries, and the stem cells are essentially like a very generic cell that can turn into other cells, and so it can help with rebuilding stuff. So it's great for like people are seeing miracles when it comes to like bone regeneration and ligament fixing and all kinds of stuff. But I'm like, where's all these stem cells coming from?
Right.
Like I'm wondering if they're kind of coming from these banks of people who are donating them or maybe giving them for storage. I'm like, where's all these stem cells coming from? Because essentially the only way for you to get stem cells is from placenta, from births.
And that's what I like after.
From my
I
understanding.
wish I would have like, because I feel like a lot of my like mommy knowledge comes from listening to mommy podcasts, and I wish I would have listened to that more before I gave birth, because that then I started hearing about encapsulating your placenta and all this, and I have no idea what they did with my placenta. I know it was there because I remember Ralph saying like, yeah, that was like the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was
because they just
disgusting.
put it like on this little table.
Yeah, it's like a jellyfish, and it's just.
And they kind of press on your stomach to make sure that all of it comes out.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't get to see that. I was too
thank God.
focused on the baby.
Do you just keep bleeding though?
After you give birth, you bleed for like a good month.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. The first couple of days is a little heavy, and then after that, it's not that bad. But it's
like
there.
a heavy period, or like just heavy, like you cut
like a
yourself
heavy
open?
period.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of gross things with birth.
I've heard too, like sometimes people like poop and stuff when they're pushing.
Oh my gosh, that was like my worst fear. I probably didn't eat for like 2 days because I was like, that's not happening to me. I was like, I cannot see, like, how am I going to look at my husband in his eyes if that happens? Like, oh my God, like I was terrified of that because it's like thinking back to it, it's like you can't control that. Like if you're pushing a baby out, and like it's funny because like a lot of my friends would be like, Cynthia, but it's totally normal. I'm like, I pray that does not happen to me because I would die. Like it's just like, and it's one of those things where like I remember after I gave birth to her and I was in the recovery room and stuff, I told my mom, I'm like, that didn't happen, right? Because like she was watching that, she's like, no, everything was fine. I'm like, oh, thank God, because I was like, maybe it happened and I didn't even feel it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like that's insane. Like that happens. Like when I found out about that, I was freaked out. Like
She did not poop. I was there.
oh man.
I'm surprised that you were worried about that though, but you still let him watch.
She didn't have a choice. That was my choice.
Maybe
coulda had
because
a
like
choice. She would've been like,
when
"Come
we
over here."
talked about
Yeah,
it,
true,
he was
true.
always like, you
Death
know,
grip.
like
She's like,
he would. It was
Kung
really
Fu
nice that
death
he
grip.
really wanted to be part of it.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
in every aspect. So maybe that's why. But like
Helped you get more
man,
comfortable with it, and
Yeah. 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 I mean, like with his parents, like his mom would go to the hospital by herself, and you know, then his dad would show up. It's like, oh, the baby's
Bring him
here.
home.
It's because they're old school
but that,
Mexicans.
I think that was normal, you know.
Yeah,
it was.
culture was-
yeah.
It was normal. Like it's like I'm not gonna wait there for a day or two for this kid to be born. And nowadays I'm like, what? Like
Yeah.
no,
Like
like
remember in the 50s, like the dad would wait in the waiting room smoking a cigar, and he's like, all
Yeah.
right, at some point they're gonna call me in with my baby. You know, it changes.
yeah, it's so bizarre, right? That not long ago it was normal for people to smoke in a hospital.
yeah, that is. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
So, all right. So he got you back home. So are you able to walk? How long till you able to walk?
I was able to walk right away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
With a
I
lot
was-
of discomfort.
Yeah. I
Are
mean,
you-
I wasn't like walking, you know.
Dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of discomfort walking.
Were
But
you like feeling your body compressing open and kind of?
yeah, you get these like after, and the nurse did tell me about it. You get like these after, like, what?
Aftershocks.
Yeah, like aftershocks. Because you even feel your uterus contracting back too. Because you get like these little weird contractions in your belly, like because it contracts
Indigestion.
back to its
Indigestion.
original size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't
really
have a
does.
uterus.
For how long?
I think I felt it. I want to say for like the first month, about the
That's
first
crazy.
month.
Just the fact that the body does all of that.
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
that it just knows what to do. It's insane.
But it's almost better off that way. Because
Oh, yeah.
if we had to manually do that process, we're like, open up the uterus wall.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, now push harder. Like, we would
But I
fuck it
think
up.
there is an element of that. I really do. You know, like you have this crazy bond with this
Right.
little baby, you know, and I think those like it's almost like those hormones communicate with
How to
your
do it.
body and
It's possible. No, I'm laughing because I'm once again childish mind. I'm like thinking, how many idiots do you watch videos on YouTube where people come out of their garage without opening the door? Like that's the same shit people do with the baby. They're just like trying to like, oh, I forgot to open up the uterus wall. Like it has to be an auto
Something.
thing, you know. So they talk a lot about the oxytocin, like that bonding hormone that you get, like especially during breastfeeding and afterwards. Is that something that you kind of feel, or is it just something where you're like, oh no, I just feel bonded to the baby?
You do. I personally did feel it. I don't think Ralph and I have talked about it, but after you have the baby, they do this golden hour. Everyone leaves the room. Mom's included. It was only Ralph, the baby, and I. And I'd say in that hour, like it's total bliss. It really is.
Yeah.
Like it's just like you can't believe that this little baby's here and.
Take pictures.
Did we
great,
take
yeah,
pictures?
yeah.
I don't think I
I
was
did.
thinking of pictures.
I
Ralph
did.
would think of pictures.
I didn't
But-
send them to anybody. Those were for me.
For the
But
gram, bro.
It
for
was
the gram.
super blissful.
No,
like
it was not for the gram.
Yeah, I've never felt so connected to him. Like it's like this super high. I think that's the best way I can describe it.
So I've also heard of a lot of women who get a crash afterwards, where they get postpartum depression. Is that something you were worried about?
I think I did have some postpartum, and I think it was mainly because of the breastfeeding. Yeah.
Is that like also a byproduct of your hormones being like kind of like roller coasters throughout the process, and then in the end you kind of crash and you're relieved, but then back up with the bonding, and then kind of.
Yeah, I think so. Because, I mean, it's like all these things are going through your head. Like I read things of like, oh, if you don't breastfeed your kid, they have a higher chance of SIDS. And so like I'd get paranoid. Like it's like if my baby dies, oh my God, like it's my fault, you know, because I wasn't breastfeeding my
What's
baby.
SIDS?
Sudden infant death.
Okay.
Something.
Sudden infant death. I think it's death. Death syndrome.
Something like that. Yeah, because I believe they can't determine why a baby passes in the first couple months. I don't know exactly what the cutoff is with the months, but like they just say it's SIDS. If a baby passes when, you know, they're a month, 2 months, 3 months, they don't say like, oh, you know, it's because they were having respiratory issues or, you know. So
I do wonder how much of that is hormone based, where like you're not bonding enough with the child, therefore maybe not taking care of it as much, or like, you know, feeding it as much. Like you see that a lot with I think it's kittens. Like when a new kitten litter is born, like you shouldn't be touching those cats ever, because the female cat needs to be able to smell her smell on the cat so that she knows it's hers, and then she could feed them. Because if you ever remove the kitten when it's too young and you try to put it back so the mom feeds it, she'll like cast it away. She's kind of like, that's not my baby, I don't smell my smell on it.
Oh,
I think it's cats that do that.
Savages.
that's crazy. That's
Cats
crazy.
are little assholes. But
yeah, I think all of that has a play into it, because like I was he knows I was paranoid. I was paranoid about everything. Like she slept right next to us. We had a little like a bassinet type thing, like next to our bed. And it's like any little noise, it was crazy. Because I think experiences and stories that you're told throughout your pregnancy really affect you after.
they stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew of a baby that died of SIDS at 4 months. I heard of miscarriages and all those things. Like it's like, oh my God, like it was almost like when Ruby reached 4 months, I almost felt like a relief, because
She got past that.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing with pregnancy, right? Like after a certain trimester or whatever,
That's
like
true.
it's you're good. It's very low likelihood of something happening.
Yeah, I believe it's like if you pass the 12-week mark, it's safe to start telling people, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this in the beginning of the podcast a bit, how like you're still not where you were before having the baby.
Right.
So like this is just kind of like physically, like your physical goals, right? So has Ralph been like, so where's that boy at? And does that make you more hesitant knowing that like this process that we just discussed is like something you have to go through again?
Yeah, it's ironic you mention it, because it's probably like, I want to say like a month ago, he was like, you don't want Ruby to grow up by herself.
Guys are like that. They're like,
like,
thinking.
we should try. And I totally shut him down, because I was like, nope, I'm not doing that right now. Like, we got to wait. And I think I went as far as saying, unless you want me to stop working, I'm not going to have another baby right now. And I think because I said that, he probably was like, oh, yeah, you got to work.
You're going to work, girl.
But, he's mentioned it. And there is that selfish aspect of, I'm going to put my body through this again. This sucks, And, being honest, you do think of that. Like, as much as I don't want to admit it, and I mean,
look, it's not something to dismiss. I mean, essentially, what you're putting your body through is pretty intense.
Yeah,
it's not like it's not like you just went to the bathroom for like 2 minutes. And you're like, I'm good to go, dog. This is like a 9 month plus process where your body goes through tremendous changes. So it's not an easy dismiss where you're like, whatever. I went to the bathroom.
Yeah, and I think it's because I care about my body that it makes it more like Because I mean, honestly, there's women that they don't care, and I kind of give them props because it's like, you know, they put that aside completely for a couple years or even a lifetime, and you know, to take care of the baby and stuff. And I mean, I don't know if that'll happen when we have this. If we try to have a second child, if I'll be like, I don't care, you know, but I care. I do care, and you know, I did. And there's always that social pressure too, where, you know, like you think people are like, oh, you know, she's still carrying baby weight or whatever. But
Do you feel like that's more women than men?
yeah, I feel like it's more women than men. But
Because I don't think guys give a shit. They're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
well, no, you care a little bit, right? I mean,
Well,
not
of
in a
course.
bad way, but like, you know, because I mean, in that aspect, like, and we're already active in that sense, like working out and stuff. It's just the diet aspect is what's hard for us.
Yeah, well, for you.
Whatever, pizza man over here.
Well, yeah,
It's easy for me to eat pizza.
yeah, he has
That's
this Fridays, this Fat Boy Friday.
Fat Boy Friday.
That's awesome.
It's
Yeah.
just like, no, I'm trying to be good for a couple weeks.
Fat Boy
Well, you
Friday's
don't
been
have
a
to
thing.
eat. It's like, dude, it's like right in my face. I'm gonna want to eat at least a
She
slice.
eats like a bite. A slice never hurt anybody. Once a week.
But yeah, that's
Try
for
eating the whole
sure.
damn thing.
No, for sure. There's that selfish aspect, and your body changes after baby.
Yeah.
No,
There's
I
permanent changes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And it is, look, in certain respects, it is kind of like a selfish endeavor to want to not put your body through anything else. But at the same time, like, you only have one body, right? Like, at the same time, you also should be able to have it all in many respects. And you can. You just got to work a little harder. You will have to work a little harder. But
Yeah.
just kind of food for thought. Because I think some women also tend to have that mindset where they're like, I've had a kid, I did this for the baby. And it's like, well, diabetes is creeping up too, so you got to be careful.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be able to also manage everything. You know, just like money, you can't just go buck ass wild and buy everything you want and then just assume that you're still going to be able to pay rent.
Yeah.
Like, you got to balance and manage.
Exactly.
Nobody's
I
telling you to
agree.
be fitness chick number 4 from Instagram, but
Fitness
you
chicks.
got it. Yeah. But at the same time, like, don't let yourself go where you're risking your health, and now you're putting your baby in this position where who's going to take care of your baby if something
Yeah.
happens? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, it's. I think it's just something that's just gonna happen. If it happens, it happens. I think if it doesn't happen, I don't think it would be like
Wouldn't be the worst.
detrimental
Yeah, it wouldn't be
to
the
our
worst thing
marriage,
in the
or
world.
like
Nah.
I don't think he would resent me.
Do you have
But-
a number? Like, for
Two.
example, what I mean by that? Two what?
First-
2 kids?
The number? Yeah, the maximum number is 2 kids.
Okay, so that's my point. So no,
Yeah.
my point is more along the lines of, like, you want the pair. Everybody wants the pair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
everyone wants the
Essentially, you're
pair.
always like, I want a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
But what if you have another girl?
That's
so do you have a
fine.
max number?
Yeah, 2.
You don't,
For me, it's
you don't go
2.
for the 3? You don't go for
Nope.
the 3? You don't roll the dice?
No. No, I'm gonna end up like my dad.
All girls.
Yeah, and
say that.
he had 4.
You
4
know-
girls, and then me. When there's a big gap.
3 girls and.
They say
Oh,
that
I have a half sister.
That's true,
supposedly this is some bro shit, but there is like the idea that guys with like really high testosterone levels usually have like girls. They have a lot of girls. Like a lot of MMA guys have a lot of girls. Well, it's just
Ah,
like,
interesting.
what's up with this, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you're welcome, because shortly after I got him on a diet and I got him all straightened down, yoked, that's when you got pregnant. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I'm yoked.
I'm taking
He said
credit.
it.
John-
Jonathan
baby.
helped us in our journey, apparently.
This is gonna be the ad. I'm gonna cut the apparently part out of it. I'm gonna be a reproductive specialist.
Yeah. No, but it's funny you mentioned that, because I gained a lot more weight like after the baby came.
Ooh, did you have
weight.
sympathy? Yeah, sympathy meals.
Probably.
Where
It
she's
was
like
probably
eating stuff,
it
and
was-
then you're like, I'll eat with you.
I think it was also a lot cause, with his recovery from
yeah,
his knee
because I was
Yeah.
injuries and stuff that we had
Can't be
talked
as
about.
active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So two, and then you're done. Despite two
Yeah,
girls.
I don't want
if
more
that-
than 2.
If that.
If there's
it
a
would be
third
2.
one, it's totally an oopsie. Totally.
There will not
The
be a
baby
third.
will just never know that, though.
It will not be a third.
What about adoption? Would you
Nope.
do a third adoption?
See,
No.
Dang.
Yeah.
No.
You just
Straight up,
stamped it.
no.
You just stamped it. No.
Nope. I will have no attachment to this kid.
Really?
Straight up.
I don't agree. I think you'll change your
No.
mind.
Nope.
Why?
I only like my kids. I'm not saying I don't like any like other people's kids. I'm not saying that, but I could only put up with my kid. I have a hard time putting up with other people's
see, you
kids.
see, like,
not that I don't
step
like them,
up,
because
step
other
up.
other people's kids they're funny, they're hilarious, and I used to work in a preschool, and I learned a lot about kids. I don't want other people's kids. I want my kid, and that's it.
No. I think you change your mind. I think just like dads become stepdads all the time. I think eventually you bond and you start seeing that kid as your kid. And I mean, you may not be biologically your kid. I mean, but I think you'll change your mind.
There was a time where I told her, I said, if you would have had a kid, I probably wouldn't have dated you for sure.
that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Like,
straight up told me if you had a kid when
Like
I
from
met,
somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, that is kind of a deterrent, right? But I'm
I'm
saying
like,
as you get
dang.
older, I think you change a little
Yeah,
bit.
maybe in the future, like, that's not how it played out, obviously, but in the future, I probably would have changed my mind, maybe. I mean, I was 23 when we met, and I said that when we were
Yeah, well, when you're
23.
23, you do a lot of dumb shit too. That's why I don't understand why the league, like, being an adult here is like 18. It's like, dude, it needs to be like 25.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you do some dumb shit as a guy when you're 23. Like, what was that saying that Eric? He has a great saying. Oh, he called it, when you're young, you're cock hard. Like, because you're just so dumb. You're so
Young,
dumb
dumb,
that
full of
you're just
mush.
making, it's just like you're just making dumb decisions based on testosterone and whatever dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're dumb when you're 20s, early 20s. You are. Guys are simple.
We're simple to the point.
A lot of it's just like, what am I? I'm hungry. Yeah, no.
Just
Do
go
I need
get
to go to the
something to
bathroom?
eat.
Yes or no. Do I want to have sex? Yes or no. All right, video games it is. That's all I got left. Guys are just simple.
Yeah. Women
What?
overthink things sometimes.
We do. I know I do.
Yeah, we do.
What else? What else about giving birth or having kids?
Going back
Have
to
your own
the,
kids. Don't adopt.
Going back
I'm
to the
sorry.
adoption thing, I don't think he would change his mind
You don't think so?
because as women overthink, when I was trying to get pregnant and that whole year, like there was a point when I asked him, I'm like, well, what if we adopt? Nope. Like he was very adamant about it. He's like, I'm okay with it just being you and I. I'm not gonna adopt. He's like, I know I'm not gonna give that child the love they deserve.
Just pretend he's not here.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
do you think it's like machismo? Do you think it's like
I wonder.
Because I wonder.
Yes.
Because he does.
machismo?
I feel.
How do you describe it? Hold on. Google will help us out with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a hard one to
Like
describe.
Mexican machismo.
Is the word no, it's not masochist.
No, that's a
Yeah,
completely
that's
different
something
thing.
else.
He has a little bit of his dad's traits. So I maybe it's a little bit of that.
Yeah, I don't.
I forget
don't want-
machismo is a Spanish word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Male chauvinism. Chauvinism. It's like
Male chauvinism.
Male chauvinism.
Okay.
Do you want me to look at
So I'm a male chauvinist
No,
pig,
I don't.
apparently.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is that, right?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I think that's for sure a little bit of that.
And
Yeah.
I'm not picking on you because I think women have the adverse as well. Like you see women who are always like, I want to have a kid, but they have to have the kid that like they made.
Yeah.
Like I've known women who are like shitty positions of their life, like bad decisions all around, dating shitty men, making excuses for them just because they want to have somebody, because they want to have the kid. I mean, it's like a checklist. They're like, I need a guy to get married so that I can have a kid before I'm 30. Otherwise, if I don't, I'm gonna like be barren or whatever. Like women have this weird shit, and they start making bad decisions. I knew a girl specifically that I work with that she'll never listen to this shit. She was a hot mess, and she was like dating a guy that had like opioid addictions, like he was doing pills and stuff, but she would justify his actions because she was like, well, he's with me, and she was trying to have a kid before her 30s, and she was reaching that age, and it's like, what do you got to be at some point, you got to disconnect yourself emotionally from your chimp DNA, or what I would call it, and say like, what kind of child are you bringing into the world, and what are you going to expose them with in that kind of family? Like at some point, you got to be real honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's not a good situation to bring a kid into. So some of that I feel like is biology, but What the hell is my point? Why did I bring this up?
Dead
Maybe
silence.
that because you have this timeline doesn't mean.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry,
or-
thank you. So my point was, like, she wanted to have a kid of her own. Like, she wanted to have her own biology continue. And I
Yeah.
feel like some of that is probably just your biology telling you to continue your line. But it's like, dude, there's also, you could adopt. There's a lot of kids that need families, right? But for a lot of people, it's definitely like, no, I need to have my own blood. And that happens all the time with women, too. So it's not picking on you. That was my point. Haha.
I don't feel picked on. It's okay.
All right.
I'm not adopting. Ever.
What else about giving birth?
What other
Is there
weird things
anything-
happen?
Hey, when did they clear you guys to start having sex again?
Oh, good question.
They cleared us.
Few months. It was,
Months?
yeah.
It
I could
wasn't months.
Was probably,
Bowski's like, oh, it took so long. Oh.
the time flew
You,
because you're more worried about the baby.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was a while. I mean, it wasn't like
I got
5
cleared
months.
after 6 weeks.
Oh, 6
Okay.
weeks. That
Okay, did your libido
2 months.
increase as you were
it was
pregnant?
2 months.
No,
No.
no, it didn't actually.
No, didn't.
You have a sad face too.
No, it was sad. It was sad because that was sad for me too.
Yeah.
It
She's
was
like, "But I
it
wanna
was
have
you know,
sex."
and then like the consensus that I got from friends and family was that it
It
would,
increased.
and it was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what the heck's going on? Like
Yeah.
this is weird.
Is that, I remember that joke from, which is a movie where Knocked Up. Have you guys seen Knocked
yeah.
Up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where like the girl gets like horny when she's pregnant and he's like doesn't want to have sex. So he's like,
Yeah,
what if I
'cause
poke the baby?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
hilarious. I thought about that too, like while she was pregnant. It's like I'm gonna poke the
Every
kid.
guy thinks about that.
Yeah.
When a girl's just like, let me show you anatomy here. You're doing not that big.
It is very far away from the baby.
That's hilarious.
The baby's protected.
The baby's not gonna open its eyes and be like, what the heck?
What is this?
My mind's just like, whoa. Oh, jeez.
But yeah, no, that was a complete
Hey, I was
opposite
gonna
for
ask
me.
you before, like in your 20s and stuff, were you on birth control at all?
No, not
Oh, okay.
not consistently.
No. Okay. I'm just curious.
I hate birth control. It
Pull
doesn't
out
make me
game
feel
strong.
good. Yeah.
What kind of symptoms would you get? Was it symptoms?
I
or
felt like I was just hormonal all the time.
crazy.
Like that hormonal when before you're gonna get your lady time, like it was all the time.
Yeah, she was crazy.
I was just cranky all the time. Everything irritated me. I had no patience for him. Like, I was like, this is not me.
Yeah.
Did you ever
Yeah.
try like different birth control, like adjusting
I
the
was
dosage or
told,
whatever?
let's try a different one. And I was like, nope. Because, I discussed it with him. I'm like, is it okay if we just like, I mean, at the time, like we had just gotten married. I'm like, is it okay if I don't and we just are careful? And he's like,
"No,
I think
condoms."
because I was so mean, he was like, yeah, it's totally fine. Like,
totally cool.
Fine.
I don't
and it's
mind.
like it's almost like you can't control it. Like it's weird. Like
Yeah.
you're just so hormonal.
Yeah.
I
She's
hated
always
it.
talking shit.
Yeah, I was always talking. I was.
She's acting like McGregor.
Oh wow. Yeah, it was.
Were you on like a high or a low dose?
I'm not even sure. It was so long ago. I'm not sure. But I know that I was like, he said it's okay. I'm just gonna stop.
You're like, all right, you can do the pack out, whatever.
Yeah,
That's nice.
It was
And then you bounce back to your normal self afterwards.
pretty much right. Like it's
Yeah.
like a sudden change. It's
You noticed
like,
it
Her work ethic in the gym changed. It got more intense.
Really?
without birth control
Without birth control?
Yeah.
or with birth control?
Without it. Yeah. Because you were.
I feel like you're looking for me for approval here.
No.
And for me too, right? He's like
No, yeah. She just kind of turned it up in the gym and stuff. And she started lifting heavy.
Did you retain a lot of water with birth control?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I was gaining so much weight and it's like, I'm not really eating. What the heck?
Yeah.
No, her gains were getting crazy, and it was a good thing, obviously. And then,
He's like, that's how we ended up pregnant.
that's how we ended up.
Oh, that's funny.
Interesting.
Yeah, childbirth, all that is. It's always a good story. Every story is different, and that's the best part.
It's so neat that every labor story is different. And
Imagine if you work doing that, like just day labor delivery, you probably see a lot of crazy stuff.
Oh yeah. I'd say ours was pretty normal.
Pretty standard.
It's just basic. It was a basic pregnancy.
Ruby's
birth.
so basic.
No. She's a trip. She trips me out. But yeah, I'd say we had our birth was very basic, just to the point. Baby came out. She was fine. We went home.
What would you change like a second time around?
Would you do the epidural for the second time, or just do it all natural again?
Well, I figured if I was able to do it,
Get that second badge of honor.
But I have heard that with boys, it's the pain is more intense. Usually.
Really?
That's what I've heard. And I'm like, but it kind of makes sense because a boy's a little stronger, you know?
Boy's bigger because we're
they're
superior.
Bigger, like,
They're not as small.
Yeah.
They're the same weight though.
Not necessarily. Yeah, all babies are different weights.
All weights are different weight, right?
Yeah,
But at the same time, like the things that differentiate a male from a female aren't that apparent in babies. I mean, he's gonna have like, you know, male parts, but that's not going to affect the birth. And for the most part, like it's not like for a woman you're going to be like, well, she's tinier and her shoulders aren't as wide. Like that stuff doesn't come until you hit puberty, like the wider shoulders. I mean, all those big changes that differentiate a male to a female aren't really there until puberty.
That's true.
I feel like that's the way women are like, men are more difficult. They come into the world harder. That's why they treat us so bad.
No, but seriously, yeah, like from a couple women that have both boys and girls, I've heard that the labor pains are more painful.
Anything you would change as far as like the things you would worry less about, worry more about? If somebody was pregnant listening to this podcast, like what are the things that they should focus on versus like the things that you focus on that you shouldn't have focused on? Like you talk about a lot of things that you worried about, like this sickness or that sickness or the contact with the baby. Or
I could say other people's bullshit stories because they would tell her a lot of things, and she would remember those things as
they stress her out.
It would stress her out, and just you have to.
True.
Yeah, you have to remember that like your pregnancy is going to be different than theirs, and especially because her anatomy is different than like say her mom's or somebody else's mom or whatever. So everybody's going to be different,
right?
And you don't know how your story is going to shape out.
And I think just mainly like not having certain expectations.
Yeah.
Because like once the baby's here, like you gotta roll with it and not like going back to the breastfeeding thing. It's like I shouldn't have been so hard on myself. It's like I kept feeling like, oh, like people are going to be like, you're not, giving your baby the proper nutrition and, it's just like, just who cares what everyone says? Yeah. Do what you think is right and just don't even look at people's expressions or, same thing goes for like all the advice mom and like mother-in-law might give you because it's like their experience was different and it was a different time and it's like, like you're so emotional those first couple weeks and everything's a big deal that it's hard to like just shake it off. But I wish I would have just not cared what everyone thinks or like, am I doing this right? Is my mom thinking that I'm doing it right? Or like, just like you make these things in your head such a big deal when they're not, like in the grand scheme of things, she was healthy, she's growing, like, yeah.
It's probably a weird, difficult position to be in, just like doctors, because doctors probably want to inform you of what could happen, but also like not scare you, but they also can't shield you from what could happen because you have to know what to expect when you're in the middle of like the hecticness of birth. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I guess at the same time, if you're like, for example, a relative of yours who's warning you about the possibilities, like maybe they went through that and they're hypersensitive to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's weird. I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen.
Yeah. That's their experience.
And that's the crazy part that you don't realize how much of every baby's a miracle. because so many things can go
Can happen.
wrong. So many
Yeah.
things, like not just with mom, or not just with baby, but with mom too. Like I heard of a story where this woman gave birth, and the baby or the placenta pulled out. What did it pull out?
I don't know.
I can't remember what, but it was to a point where she had to be rushed for surgery because she was bleeding out. Like
Pulled out her guts.
She was dying. And it's like, it's crazy. Like,
Crazy.
you know, like there's so many things that can go wrong. So many things.
There's no separation, right? Like, so you have the baby's essentially in the placenta, right? Is that the way it works?
Yeah.
The baby's in the placenta, and so it's floating in the fluid.
Mm-hmm.
And then the placenta is what's feeding the baby. But like outside of the placenta, are you essentially like seeing organs? Like if you keep looking up?
From what I understand,
There's
yeah.
no-
Because
there's
all
no-
your organs kind of get pushed around somewhere else. And what I've heard is that it takes about 2 years for all that stuff to go back,
Come back.
like completely into place. Because everything gets, you know, pushed
Shift
around
around, yeah.
and shifted around, and yeah.
Did you have...
Enter the waist trainer.
Did you have... were you able to see like handprints from the baby?
Yeah.
Like that alien thing? It's like...
Well,
Yeah, like-
no, we
Like
we would see, like when she would move, like at the end, we would see.
She would shift around.
But like you couldn't
weird.
tell if it was an elbow or an arm
Yeah.
or like
It's just a
foot.
Yeah, it's just a shift of the shape of the belly.
Yeah, you couldn't really see. There was one time though that I did see her little foot, like.
No
and
way.
I creeped out so bad, and
Yeah.
he wasn't around. I was like, oh my god, that's her foot. That's her, because like I saw it clearly. Like I think she just, you know, she kicked a little too hard, and that was creepy. It was creepy.
Stop.
I was like, oh, that's her foot. Like, but yeah.
Was that scary knowing that you were going to grow like a human inside of you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because like, you know, like you just don't know like what the heck your body's doing like every couple minutes or whatever. Like, and the you feel the baby moving. Like she would like hang out on my right
On your right side.
side a lot.
Yeah.
Like if you really stared at my belly, like it was like
She was always over there.
yeah, it was weird. It was like more like this. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but she was over here. So like I would get like all these pains on my side because like I would like push her because it was either like a hand or her foot or something. Like it would just go like way too far because it hurt. It hurt. Hiccups are fun. You could feel when they have hiccups
Yeah, I
because
remember
it's
that.
just this constant like click, click, like it's super constant.
Why are they hiccuping?
I don't know. But she hiccuped a lot. Ruby hiccuped a lot.
So they're in the fluid. So essentially the fluid in there is going through their body. Like they're
Yeah.
swallowing the fluid. They're how are they getting air? Do they need to get air to the lungs?
It's like they're a little fish, right? When they're
Well, yeah, I think the oxygen just kind of goes through like the placenta, right? Like through their belly button.
yeah, like
It's freaking crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. Science.
Crazy.
Yeah. Science. Was that from Breaking Bad?
I don't know.
Yeah. No, whatever.
But any other weird thing
No,
that happened
I-
during pregnancy? Like,
That's-
sleeping sucks. It sucks. Like you gotta.
Yeah.
Do you have one of those like full body pillow wrap around?
Well, he
thing?
has one. It's just like a straight
Like a
one,
longer
like a
one?
long straight one. But
But I use it. I use
but
it the
yeah,
whole
like
time.
it's like you just like I had to sleep a little upright. And you're moving all night. Like I'd say what like after like the 5th month around there is when the whole sleeping aspect gets harder
tough, yeah.
and harder. You're waking up in the middle of the night to pee.
Oh, for the
It's-
peeing? Or I thought they were keeping you awake or something. Like from the movement?
Well, yeah, that too. Like, because, you know, if they move too, like, you feel it if they move too much. But, yeah, the whole sleeping it's hard.
Did you have a hard time sleeping, Ralph? Were you good?
He always does.
I always have a hard time sleeping, no matter what. It's in
How
my
was the
nature.
first couple of weeks? Hard
The
time
worst.
sleeping?
Yeah, I didn't sleep at all. And I try to make sure I was the one getting the baby when she needed our attention in the middle of the night. Like, and that was my way of trying to bond with her. Like, so
he would sing her the cutest songs. Yeah, like whenever he was trying to put her back to sleep, he would sing her the cutest songs.
From my preschool teacher life.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know all. I did the Bear Hunt song, the 5 Little Monkeys. What else? 5 Speckled Frogs.
The 5 Speckled Frogs. That was good.
Yeah.
All right, bust it out, dude. Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
No.
Mike is yours.
Oh, the one
Mike is
where
yours.
somebody would eat somebody else and so.
Oh, the old lady who swallowed a fly. That one takes forever. Yeah. It's too many songs to remember. But
yeah.
Like, so now I try to do like the head and shoulders, knees and toes.
Oh yeah. I know that one.
Yeah, it's so many.
Yeah.
They all come back to me. Like, once I remember them, then they come back to me. I can't at the moment. I can remember them, but.
So did you ever think about having, like, if you wanted the two, having them just one after the other? Because, you know, they always say, I hear a lot of moms
we hear that all the time.
Yeah, you hear a lot of moms saying, like, oh, you want them growing up very similar ages.
Yeah.
At least a lot of people go for that.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about that? After the first one, you're like, no, I need a break.
I knew that I didn't want to have a baby right away.
Yeah, we do get that all the time. And my neighbor was telling me, he's like, you should have the next one soon. That way they grow up in the same social group. And they can always be around each other, but yet they're not like the same age. You know, they got 3 years apart. They know the same people and stuff. They could all take care of each other, and you know.
Well, I guess a lot of people also think about the fact that, like, once you know, whatever you guys' age is now, whatever, I can't even talk to the mic, that when they hit 18, like, you're still young enough to where you can enjoy life and do stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I always told her, I said, I want to be young enough to be able to knock my kid out if I have to, but she's a girl, so I'm not gonna knock her out.
You think he's gonna spoil her?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a girl.
Most likely. She kind of keeps me from spoiling her. Like the other day, she saw a balloon at Walmart, and I want her to get it, but she's like, no. Then she's gonna get used to it, and she's gonna expect it.
Yeah,
he's getting in that habit where every time she asks for something at the store, he gets it, and I'm like, no. I'm like, every time we go to the store, she's gonna want something. I'm like, and especially now that she's just more and more aware. I'm like, no.
It was an Elmo balloon.
He's
by
like,
the way.
it's only like a couple of dollars. I'm like, it's not about the money. She's gonna want something.
And she's absolutely right. And she's just it's her job to remind me of things, you know.
And I secretly hate toys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I've gone to friends' houses where like the kids' room is like covered in toys. Like every single inch of the floor has a toy, and I'm like, I bet like, and that's also what I tell him. It's like you get her the toy and she plays with it for a little bit when we get home, and that's it.
Throws away.
Yeah.
Like it takes her a long time before she has any interest on that toy. It's just like no.
Yeah, like her little Minnie Mouse kitchen that she has over there. At first, she's like, "Oh my God, you know, I'm gonna play with this little kitchen." Now it's just there, and we were excited. We were excited to get it for her and stuff, and now it's just there.
It's an interesting dynamic because now you got to start thinking about, like, you're right. She's gonna start noticing that, just like positive reinforcement. You complain and you want something, then you give it to her, and then it's gonna continue that cycle. Now you got to start dealing with teachings. Like, it's not just about taking care anymore. Now you're phasing into showing her like morals and accountability and responsibility and all those big words. I mean, you're shifting now, because now she's going from you just making sure she's alive to now she understands, and teaching her the concepts that you have to live with in society.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good way to put it.
And you got to not spoil her, because as a guy, like, you always look for the opposite. So if you had a boy, you would more likely want to spoil the boy, and he'd have to be the one that's harder on the boy. So it's one of these situations where you're going to have to keep him in check to not spoil her, because nobody likes a bratty chick or a bratty little kid.
Oh, no, I hate that.
Yeah, so you got to keep in check. It's interesting, man. It's an interesting phase to know that you got to now change the dynamic.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's
It's all
why.
about survival.
And I think that's why, like inside, I think I just wanted the girl just to have somebody to give that love to. I knew I would be hard on a boy. I know I'll be hard on a boy.
Yeah, because guys will tend to be harder on boys. Like if he falls and
poor kid
scrapes his knee, you're like, just get up, dog.
Get up.
You're good. Just run it off.
Like, get up. And I even catch myself with her sometimes. She falls, I'm like, get up. Just get up.
But that's good, man, because
Yeah.
ultimately, like, I'm not saying to be cold and heartless and ununderstanding, but what I am saying is kids are very soft nowadays.
Yep.
There's a lot of soft kids. I mean, we talked about some soft people just earlier today.
Yeah.
And the U.S. as a whole is suffering from this state of comfort. We yearn for comfort and creature comforts or the comfort of just being able to drive through and get a food. I mean, we're not struggling with things that other countries are struggling with.
Right.
And sometimes I feel that struggle is what develops the moral fiber in order for you to become a stronger individual or a tougher individual.
Yeah.
Because you see how many people just crumble with a little bit of stress.
Yeah.
Life is going to be stressful, and there's going to be a point where that daughter of yours is going to be on her own.
Yeah.
And she's going to need to be self-confident and disciplined enough to be able to make the right decisions. And this is the age where you have to instill those things into her.
Yeah, and that's going to be a fun challenge.
Yeah, it's hard finding that challenge between them respecting you, but also fearing you a little bit,
That's
because
necessary, right?
It is necessary.
Yeah.
I think it is. I mean, I feared my mom a little bit.
Yeah, so did I.
But I don't feel like it was enough to where like I couldn't come to her.
Right.
So it's just fine, and that's what I've always told Ralph. It's so hard to find that balance because it's like you want them to come to you if there's a problem they're going through or like something crazy. But at the same time, it's like you don't want them to just be like, oh, if I do this, my mom won't do anything or whatever. Right. So it's that's the challenging part that I'm like, I don't know. Fun times ahead.
Stressful times ahead.
So, you ready for dating?
No.
No.
Not ready now. What I'm saying is, like, are you mentally prepared?
That's more than a decade away.
Well, no, she's going to start looking at boys at some point.
Some point.
Maybe that's about 5 years away, maybe. But she'll be like, oh, that boy's cute. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for that?
Nope.
She goes and like punches a kid in the
I'm not ready for it, but not ready for it, but I have to go through it. So, who wants to go shotgun shopping?
Yeah, man, that's what a guy. That's like the guy's worst fear, right?
Yeah.
It's like the guys that your daughter's gonna bring home.
Yeah.
Like, because if you have a boy, then you don't worry about it. You're like,
give him tips.
You're like, boy, cover up your willy, and we're good to go. Don't come back over here with kids. But with the daughter, you're like, who are you dating? This kid?
You ain't going nowhere.
This kid?
You ain't going nowhere with that kid.
Boy, get out of my house. I'm not dealing with you right now. Now pull your pants up. I can't.
I can see your foot, young man.
Yeah, man. That's why I think I would almost lean towards a boy first.
Yeah.
Because a boy, you can make some mistakes and know that you're just like, he'll be fine. He's a boy, right? But a girl, as a man, you want to coddle them a bit. You're like, oh, don't scrape your knee here, girl. You're like trying to baby her,
Yeah, no, I don't mind if she scrapes her knees. I want her to be running around and like I like that she climbs on these chairs. I kind of like it, but then I got to be watchful and protective about it. But I don't want her to see me be like right behind her. You know what I'm saying? That way she builds her own little confidence, and if she falls, at least I'll protect her head from cracking open or something. But I let her walk up the steps by herself, but I'm right behind her.
Right.
But I'm also not like with my hands out expecting her to fall. I let her walk, and I try to be super observant about her balance, and because rolling down the stairs for a little 2-year-old is dangerous.
Yeah, for sure.
What age did you start seeing like a personality?
Ooh.
I wanna say she started coming alive at about 4 months.
Yeah, roughly.
Like, cause the first 3-4 months they really are just there, like you know what I mean. Like
they're just chilling.
Yeah, they really.
Sleeping, crying,
Chilling,
Yeah.
eating.
The life.
And just like,
Yeah, they're living the life,
Yeah.
man.
the life.
Getting their diapers changed.
and like as a parent, you're just worried that they're okay, that
Yeah.
they're breathing, that but I think she started like the smile, like when you see those first smiles, it's so cool, you know, because it's like, oh my gosh, she just smiled, like, the first words are pretty cool too. I'd say that happened more towards like,
What was her first words?
Oh,
what was it?
she says a lot of different things. There isn't one specific word that comes to mind. That was her first word, but
I want to say it was mama though, because for a long time she would call us both mama.
yeah, she still kind of calls me mama sometimes, but that's all right. I don't mind. I know the difference between mom and when she's calling me. Like, she has two different things that she says.
Where do you feel that personality comes from? Is it just from watching you guys? Is it
Yeah, I think
TV?
it's a. I think
where
it's
do you
a.
think that comes from?
She's so observant.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's
it
for
might be a little bit
it's
learned
for sure
now.
from us, from everyone that lives
Mm-hmm.
here, because there was I realized it because shortly after she started walking, I guess I say no a lot, because there was like the first couple times she said it, I said something to her and she's like, no.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of learned
And my
behavior
mom's
is
like,
hilarious.
you do that like all the time, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I do? And she's like, yeah. She's like, look at her, now she's doing it too. And they really imitate you. They really do.
Yeah.
She imitates Grandpa a lot, his dad, like even in the way she sits, because like he'll sit on the computer with like his foot up on the desk. She like sits in her little chair with her little foot up, and I'm like, that's so weird. Like I feel like they're so observant and we don't realize it.
It's
Like,
interesting what they gravitate towards.
Yeah.
Though, right? Because otherwise, it's not like a parrot, where a parrot will say everything that they hear, but they only pick certain things to do themselves. Like the foot thing, or like the thing you said, versus like just anything you guys say at all times.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
I wonder.
that's true.
I wonder what the logic is there. Like how that works.
No idea.
But yeah. Oh, and then like in the gym, she squats. Yeah. Or when we're jumping, she like just does like a good morning.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because it's like we start like doing some kind of movement where we're jumping, and then she's like over there like she's
Or I was doing like, how was I doing, lunges or squats or something, and she just starts like, I want to say she was doing like a deadlift movement, but like to her she was squatting and she's just doing it right along. And then I remember I was doing like some push-ups or something, and she would just get in like that upward dog position.
Oh.
Yeah, like it's weird. It's like, what are you doing? But keep doing it. Yeah, it's cute. It's real cute.
Have you seen those little like foam weight sets for kids?
Yeah,
Those are like foam.
yeah. I've been thinking about getting her a little.
Rogue, I think, has them. They're
Yeah,
pretty cool.
well,
You see little
well,
kids messing with them.
we have a set of 1 pound dumbbells. These the little Fifi dumbbells.
Yeah.
And she picks them up and she uses them. She throws them. She puts them over it and then she just drops them. She's crazy. She's gonna smash her foot one day, and then I'm gonna tell her, I told you, stop playing with these weights. She's gonna learn the hard way.
Yeah, I would say in the gym is where she imitates us.
Yeah, she's funny in there. And then probably one of the best things that's ever happened for me, with like a father-daughter thing. I had a baseball, or I have a basket of baseballs in the garage, and she reaches in and grabs one, and she reaches out to me, she's like, ball? And she hands me the ball. And then she pulls out her little, because I bought her a little glove that she never really used, but I had left it there, and she grabs her glove. She's like, ball? So I instantly pulled out my glove from my bag, and she can't catch, obviously, but, I throw the ball, like, towards her, and she just kind of looks at it until it stops, and then she picks it up, but now she's like kind of throwing the ball. So it's pretty cool to see her do that, and hoping that she takes a big interest in, well, it would have to be softball, obviously. But
He rolled his eyes.
But I mean, softball, fast pitch softball is very competitive, obviously. And it's a lot faster paced than just regular old school baseball.
Yeah.
You
Really?
know?
Why?
Because everything, the bases are shorter. The distance between bases is shorter. The pitcher's mound is closer. The fences are shorter distance. So everything happens at a faster
You can't
pace.
hit the ball as far, right?
Can't hit it as far. So like everything's just quicker. Yeah. Crazy.
Any thoughts on like? Do you give a lot more thought into like education and stuff as after you've had kids? Like
Yeah.
what school districts you're in and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Ideally, I'd want her to be homeschooled, but
I don't know. For me, it's
it's hard because you want them to have that social interaction, but then you know how crappy the system is. You
Yeah.
know,
But at
there's
the same
so
time,
much social pressure.
you take away a lot of opportunities as far as like maybe an athletic scholarship or something like that.
Yeah, but that's
which,
down the road. I'm
But
talking
it's-
more like elementary school.
yeah, I
Because
see.
it's kind of like the foundation, you know?
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, like, growing up, you know, there's so much pressure of everything. Are you wearing the cool shoes? You know,
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, so it's like I almost think like if you take all that out, and so you know, like, but then they need that social interaction too. So it's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's like it's almost like it's your little baby, and you don't want them to go
Yeah.
through that
Yeah.
peer pressure or feeling.
Bullies and-
Yes, and the bullying is real. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And for me, like one of my biggest struggles as a parent is seeing her interact with other kids at, you know, maybe like birthday parties or, you know, something like that. Because here it's just her and she just sees us all us big people. But then she sees kids her size and she wants to be around them, but she's very like, she kind of stands off to the side and observes, and then she'll kind of work her way in and still not really play. She just kind of want to be in the mix, but not really interact.
Yeah.
You know, like a jumper is a good
Oh,
example.
yeah.
Like she wants to be in there, but she won't jump. She just kind of sits there.
She wants to sit in the corner
She wants to sit in the
and
corner
watch
and watch everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then for me, like I want her to be more social with kids. And I think the biggest challenge for us is actually making the time to go
Play dates.
play dates and yeah.
Play dates.
Or
Yeah, so-
jamboree apparently is.
Do you
a
feel
thing.
like
Jamboree is a thing, I
what is
guess.
Jamboree again?
I don't know.
It's basically like a little kid gym.
It's a
And, like,
playground,
it's
I
a
guess.
playground, but like you know, there's certain
That you pay for.
certain levels, but like there's a group of kids. You know, they go at a certain
Yeah.
time and they all like do these little obstacle courses, and but it you know like it's age appropriate.
Do you feel like because this is your first one, you're a little bit more overprotective?
Yes.
Yeah,
bit.
I mean, I don't think the overprotectiveness will go away with me even if we have a second one.
Really? Because you always get that first child syndrome where like they're overprotected and they're a little babied, and that's why maybe they're a little bratty. And the second one, you always hear parents be like, whatever. Like the first one, he fell, and you're like, oh my god, let's rush him to the emergency room.
Child.
And the second one's like, whatever, he's strong, he'll be fine.
I wonder. I mean, I know I am overprotective. Like as far as babysitting, I'm so weird about leaving her with. Other than like the only people we've left her with is my mom or my mother-in-law, and that's it. Like
Yeah.
I'm very weird. Like I don't even want her to go to daycare.
Yeah. And friends offer us all the time, like, hey, you should leave her. You guys could go out and we'll watch her for you. And we're still a little hesitant about that kind of thing.
Yeah, like it's you know what I mean, and it's like why? But I am, and I'm like.
Yeah. And it's nothing against
nothing against the
our
person.
friends or anybody like that.
The
But
first one's always you're very
Yeah, like
protective.
I'm like no, like what if this, what if that, or.
Yeah.
anything happens, we're just gonna blame ourselves. So
Right. Yeah.
But even with like daycare, when like we go to work, like it gives me anxiety just to think of putting her in daycare like all day. I don't know why. I did work at a daycare, maybe that's why, because I know. But
Know how
I
the
mean,
kids
they don't
are.
treat them bad, but like the thought of like when a
Someone not having nice thoughts towards your child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that's what it is, you know, because between teachers, it's like, oh, that kid again or whatever, you know, and it's like, I'm like, I don't, you know, but eventually I know it's going to have to happen because, you know, we have to work.
I was itching to say it. I'm sorry.
But yeah, there's all these anxieties and worries and from what I hear, it doesn't go away. Like, you know, from friends that have kids of all ages, like the worry never goes away. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think we're finishing up, guys. Anything you want to leave people with? Maybe thoughts on pregnancy?
Don't adopt.
Anything you would like to tell somebody who's maybe pregnant and listening to this, or thoughts about giving birth or pregnancy, or warnings on what to expect or anything? No?
I guess like the warnings is like a jillion things can happen, you know, before, after, during, like it's I mean, just self-awareness, you know, reading stuff out there that's out there to get prepared. For sure, prepare yourself for delivering the baby, like the whole labor process, because I you know, like, even if you prepare yourself, you still go in and you feel like you don't know what the heck you're doing. But if you kind of have a bit of a foundation of like what to expect a little bit, because it's just like a million things happening at once, you know, like, but it's the hardest and most rewarding experience I've gone through.
And if you ain't ready, wrap it up. Put a condom on. They're cheap.
Anything
They're
you
not
wanna tell
expensive.
your kiddo when she's old enough to listen to this?
Buy condoms.
To your kiddo?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Being realistic. I mean, she's going to grow up. She's going to have sex, you know. Wrap it up. I mean.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, wrap it up. I'd rather be real about it.
Your dad, you're listening.
I mean, like, yeah. I mean, think about yourself. Like.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, like we were talking about earlier,
like,
that sex is like a taboo, but it's like
it's a primal instinct.
The first time I said that word in front of my mom, she was freaking out, and I was already like 13, 14, you know, and it's like you need to start talking to your kids about it from like the time they're like probably 6 or 7 nowadays.
You think you're gonna talk to her about sex?
I mean,
7?
she's gonna see.
There's books out there.
somewhere.
Okay, I know of a book that's called
and then any
what is it, like, just things pertaining to that, like I think it's called Hair in Funny Places or something. Like there's so much stuff out there nowadays that it's like maybe like at least just like, you know, giving them books and like just that, you know. Yeah. Okay. Any last words? Anything to leave the people with? You want to plug any social media? You want to plug anything? You're good?
I'm good for now.
It's just hard, and you have to be a team. Like you have to be a team. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
I think I plugged my IG in earlier. Do I have anything else social media wise? Oh, I have a Funko Pop Instagram. Adventures of Pops. There's an underscore between the words. Adventures _ Pops.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
If you like Funko Pops, what's up? I know that has nothing to do with what we talked about today, but
you might as well. Any last? It's a little one.
There's our little one popping her head through the doorway. You want to say hi? You want to say hi, baby?
All right, that's it, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a wrap.
How was that, huh? Wasn't that fun? It was a good podcast. A lot of fun situations. A lot of things I learned that I probably wouldn't ever know, because there are more things that are specific to females, especially when it comes to like breastfeeding and things you're just not gonna know until you go through a birthing process. Whether it's what it's like after you give birth and what the female body does before, during, and after. It's very complex. I still think it's amazing that the human body kind of does it without really actively planning and doing it on your own, like you would if you went to the gym and had to go squat or something, right? That's kind of tricky. It's kind of impressive. Overall, though, it's fun to learn new stuff, and everybody's perspective from what they told us and what I talked to other people about. Everybody's perspective is really different when it comes to giving birth. Another thing also I thought about during the episode, I was thinking, I'm like, hopefully I'm not scaring people from having kids. There is pros and cons to anything you do in life, right? Just like driving, you get to work when you drive, you get to not worry about taking buses and being on somebody else's schedule, but at the same time, there are some risks involved with driving, right? Ultimately, you are driving like in a big vehicle at high speeds and things can happen. So just like driving, there's repercussions, or not repercussions, but there could be potential side effects or negatives to childbirth. And something hilarious, by the way, like the whole pooping thing, that was hilarious. Because 90% of women listening to this probably feel the same way. But anyways, that's the podcast, ladies and gents. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Maybe share it with somebody if you know somebody who's interested in having kids or wants to have kids, or maybe somebody that's just looking to enjoy a podcast. Maybe you're at work and you're like, I have a couple hours to burn. I need a good podcast. Send them the podcast. Once again, I'll try to bring you guys up to date on the next podcast. Probably via my Instagram primarily, because it's hit or miss. These are a little harder to do, but I'm going to try to get more in the bank, if you will. That's it, ladies and gents. If you guys like this stuff, feel free to follow me on social media. And check this out. This brand, Motivated Results. If you go to their website, if you use my code LifeGeneralist, you get like 20% off. So go copy some shit. Wait, I shouldn't have cussed there, should I? Go copy some stuff. I don't think sponsors enjoy when you throw cuss words in their ads, right? Right? Business-ish. Anyways, that's it. We'll see you guys soon. Follow my Instagram for the next episode, teasers, and/or drop. See you guys later. Thanks again for listening.